turn off the lights. Let the glow of your screen be the only thing that tethers you to the physical world for a moment. I want you to listen, not just with your ears, but with that quiet, neglected space behind your chest. The world outside is loud. It is a world of shadows and echoes, a world that spends billions of dollars every single day just to convince you that you are small, that you are vulnerable, that you are one paycheck, one illness, or one unlucky breakaway from total collapse. You feel it, don't you? That low-frequency hum of anxiety that sits in the back of your throat? You feel like you are being hunted. Hunted by debt, hunted by the expectations of people who don't even know your soul, and hunted by a version of yourself that you're afraid you'll never become. You've been told that life is a battlefield where the loudest, the cruelest, and the wealthiest win. But there is a secret. A law. It isn't hidden in a vault or a restricted laboratory. It has been sitting in plain sight for over 14 centuries, etched into the very fabric of existence. It is a frequency of power so absolute that once you tune your life to it, the concept of defeat becomes a physical impossibility. This is not a motivational speech. This is the blueprint of the divine law of victory. Look at the person you see in the mirror when the world isn't watching. We are living in the age of the most connectivity, yet the most profound loneliness. The most information, yet the most crushing confusion. You are trapped in a cycle that feels like a treadmill accelerating toward a wall. Every morning, you wake up and your brain immediately scans for threats. You check your phone, and the cortisol spikes. You see the success of others, and you feel a phantom pain in your own life, the pain of not enough. You are exhausted. Not just physically, but spiritually. This is the burnout of the soul. Modern psychology calls this a state of hypervigilance. Your nervous system is stuck in a loop of fight or flight, because you believe, on a subconscious level, that you are the only thing standing between yourself and destruction. You feel like a lone soldier in a vast desert, surrounded by enemies you cannot see: inflation, judgment, aging, failure. You try to build walls. You try to accumulate more, work harder, sleep less. But the walls always feel too thin. The anxiety remains because you are leaning your entire weight against a pillar that is already crumbling. You are seeking stability in a world defined by fluctuation. You are asking the ocean to stand still so you can walk on it, forgetting that you were never meant to control the waves. You were meant to be held by the one who created the water. In the midst of this static, when the walls of your life feel like they are closing in, a voice cuts through the noise. It is not a scream. It is a calm, unwavering pulse of truth. It is a formula written in the stars and whispered in the pages of the final revelation. The Quran quietly reveals, if Allah helps you, none can overcome you. Pause. Let that sink into the marrow of your bones. None can overcome you. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a statement of metaphysical fact. In the architecture of the universe, there is only one true sovereign. When the source of all power, the originator of every atom, the sustainer of every heartbeat, decides to back you, the mathematics of this world cease to apply. The Quran reveals a reality that defies human logic. It tells us that victory is not a result of your resources. It is a result of your alignment. We see this in the life of the Prophet. Imagine him in the cave of Thor, with his closest friend, while the swords of those who wanted his blood were just inches away. To the human eye, he was defeated. He was trapped. But he looked at his companion and spoke from a place of absolute stillness. Do not grieve. Indeed, Allah is with us. He wasn't looking at the feet of his enemies. He was looking at the power that held their very heartbeats in his hand. He understood that if the King of Kings has decreed your safety, the entire world could draw their swords and they would only find themselves cutting the air. This is the divine support. Let me tell you about a man we will call Elias. Elias was a man who built his life on the sand of his own ego. He was a high-level architect, a man who prided himself on his control, his precision, and his ability to outmaneuver any competitor. But life has a way of humbling the proud. Within a single year, a series of betrayals left him bankrupt. His firm collapsed, his friends vanished like mist, and he found himself sitting in a small, empty apartment, staring at a stack of lawsuits. His enemy wasn't just the bank, it was the crushing weight of his own perceived failure. He fought with everything he had. He used anger, he used manipulation, he spent his nights fueled by caffeine and spite, trying to win back his life. But the more he fought, the more he lost. He was drowning because he was fighting the water. One night, at 4 a.m, he stumbled upon that verse, "If Allah helps you, none can overcome you." He realized for the first time in 40 years that he had never asked for help. He had been trying to be his own God. He stopped fighting. He performed a prayer that felt more like a surrender than a ritual. He admitted his weakness. He shifted his focus from how do I beat them to how do I return to him. The transformation wasn't instant, but it was total. His enemies didn't disappear, but their power over him did. And as soon as they lost their power to frighten him, the legal knots began to untie. People who had refused to speak to him suddenly reached out with settlements. Opportunities appeared from directions he hadn't even looked at. He became unconquerable not because he became stronger, but because he became a vessel for a strength that was not his own. Think about the invisible battles you fight every day. There is a woman, let's call her Sarah, who spent a decade paralyzed by the evil eye of social comparison. She felt that every time she made progress, something would pull her back. She felt watched, judged, and cursed by the envy of others. Her enemies weren't people in a courtroom. They were the whispers in her own mind and the toxic energy of those around her. She lived in a state of spiritual contraction. She tried every self-help hack, every productivity journal, every shielding meditation. Nothing worked until she understood the law of victory. She realized that by fearing the envy of people, she was giving those people the status of gods. She was saying, their gaze is more powerful than his protection. The moment she internalized the truth that if Allah helps her, none can overcome her, her posture changed. She stopped hiding her blessings and started anchoring them in gratitude. She realized that a candle doesn't lose its light by being seen. It only flickers when it loses its connection to the wick. She became immune to the negativity of others because she was no longer vibrating on the same level as the envy. She was protected not by a wall, but by a presence. Consider the science of this stillness. Modern neuroscience is only now discovering what the heart has known for millennia. When you truly believe that a supreme power is your ally, your brain undergoes a physical transformation. The amygdala, that ancient, almond-shaped part of your brain that triggers fear and panic, begins to shrink in its activity. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the center of logic, creativity, and long-term planning, becomes more robust. When you are in a state of tawakkul, or absolute reliance, your body stops producing the toxic levels of cortisol that cloud your judgment. You literally become smarter. You see openings where others see walls. You see solutions where others see dead ends. This is what the world calls luck or flow, but the Quran calls it barakah. It is the biological manifestation of divine help. It is the physiology of victory. Scientists have observed that soldiers, athletes, and leaders who operate from a place of internalized mission rather than external fear perform at levels that seem almost supernatural. They are not faster or stronger, they are more aligned. This alignment is the integrated divine system. Think of yourself as a high-performance instrument. If the instrument is out of tune with the musician, it doesn't matter how hard you pluck the strings, it will only produce noise. Most people are plucking their strings with all their might, wondering why their life sounds like a cacophony of stress and failure. They are out of tune with the Fitra. The Fitra is the original design, the primordial blueprint of your soul. Your soul was designed to be a servant to the Creator, not a slave to the creation. When you try to find your victory in the approval of people, or the number in a bank account, you are trying to play a violin with a hammer. It doesn't work. The law of victory is the process of returning to the blueprint. It is the realization that your enemies, the debt, the critics, the health scares, the loneliness, are actually reminders sent to push you back into the arms of the only one who can actually help you. They are not obstacles. They are the friction required to generate the heat of faith. Imagine the prophet again, during the Battle of the Trench. a massive confederacy of enemies had surrounded the city. The believers were hungry, cold, and outnumbered. To any military strategist, they were finished. Yet, in the middle of that darkness, as they struck a rock that wouldn't break, the prophet saw flashes of victory. He saw the fall of the great empires of the time. He wasn't hallucinating. He was seeing through the lens of the divine law. He knew that the physical numbers were a secondary reality. The primary reality was the promise of the one who says be, and it is. This is the unseen army. When you align yourself with the truth, you are never fighting alone. You have access to a reservoir of energy that the world cannot understand. This is why the person of true faith can walk through a fire, metaphorical or literal, and come out not just unburned, but purified. I want to invite you to a small, quiet experiment. For the next 7 days, I want you to step out of the war you've been fighting. I'm not asking you to quit your job or ignore your responsibilities. I'm asking you to change the commander of your soul. Every time a thought of defeat enters your mind, when you feel that I can't do this or they are going to destroy me, I want you to pause. Take one breath. And whisper to yourself, if Allah helps me, who can be against me? Don't say it like a magic spell. Say it like a law of gravity. Say it as a reminder to yourselves that they are under the protection of the King. Observe what happens to your breathing. Observe how your tone of voice changes when you speak to those who oppose you. Observe how the giants in your life begin to look like ants when you stand next to the mountain. This is not about winning an argument. It is about winning your soul back from the clutches of fear. As we reach the end of this reflection, let the silence of the night wrap around you. The world will be there tomorrow, with all its demands and its noise. But you will be different. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are a student of the divine law. You are returning to your design. You are realizing that the only thing that ever stood between you and victory was the illusion that you had to achieve it alone. Sleep now with the certainty that the one who sustains the orbits of the planets is currently sustaining you. He does not tire. He does not forget. And he does not lose. The battle you were so afraid of has already been decided in your favor, the moment you chose him. Rest in that peace. Rest in the afterglow of the truth. You are unconquerable, because he is with you. And when you wake up, walk upon the earth with the quiet confidence of someone who knows a secret the rest of the world has forgotten. The secret is simple. The door to victory is not pushed. It is opened from the inside.